hard to believe, but should Miami drop their last 2 games of the season, the winner of today's game between West Virginia and Pittsburgh will be the champion in the Big East. John Saunders alongside of Terry Godden. That's the backyard brawl, and I think I have an idea who you might be pulling from that game.
John, you know I'm an old Mountaineer, and I'll be pulling for those Mountaineers, but Pittsburgh is playing almost as good as anyone in the country. But Miami is as good as anyone in the country. They'll win their final 2 games and be in the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah, Pittsburgh almost knocked Miami out, but could not pull it off. And Larry Coker, no one's coaching better than him right now. As a matter of fact, he passed your 20 wins to start a career earlier this year, but we still have you as our #1 guy. We, of course, will be here throughout the day with scores and highlights. Right now, let's take you out to our game.
Thanks, John. History is being made today here in the Steel City as you are looking at what is expected to be the largest crowd in the modern era to ever see a sporting event in the city of Pittsburgh. As the Pittsburgh Panthers take the field, over 65,000 seats were sold on Tuesday this week. They added 2,000 standing room only seats. And folks, this crowd here should be phenomenal. They have jammed their way in to see the oldest rivalry in Big East Conference history. It is the 95th renewal of the Backyard Brawl, featuring the 18th ranked Panthers of Pittsburgh and the 21st ranked Mountaineers of West Virginia. Hello, everyone. I'm Jerry Punch, along with Mike Mayock. Glad to have you with us here in Pittsburgh, where despite the frigid temperatures and threat of snow, the atmosphere is simply electric. Let's break it down for Mike, this Backyard Brawl. The backyard part is simple. These 2 schools just 90 miles apart. The brawl, that's what you see when they kick it off. The leather popping, in-your-face physical football. And Mike, today, the odds are pretty high.
Yeah, and Doc, they really don't like each other. But on top of that, each of them only has 1 loss in the conference. So depending on what happens with Miami over their next 2 games, they could play for a share of the Big East title. On top of that, winner probably goes to a New Year's Day bowl game. That's huge in terms of both national respect and, Jerry, also local recruiting. So there's an awful lot to play for today.
Both of these programs have come a long way in just a handful of years.
Yeah, and it really is directly attributable to the quality of their head coaches. At Pittsburgh, Walt Harris took over a program that had won only 15 games in 5 years. Incredibly, Pitt will play in their 4th bowl game in his 6-year tenure. At West Virginia, 39-year-old alum Rich Rodriguez brought a no-huddle offense and a big play defense to Morgantown. And Doc, in just his 2nd season, he's got the Mountaineers playing for a New Year's Day bowl berth.
Well, Mike, coaching brought him just so far. Then the on-field talent took over for West Virginia. That meant a heavy dose of nifty number 22. The Big East all-time leading rusher, Cherry Hill, New Jersey senior Avon Coburn. But don't let his diminutive size fool you. With Barry Sanders-like moves, he is capable of putting up huge numbers like 260 yards, a single-game rushing record set earlier this year against East Carolina. For the Panthers of Pittsburgh, check out the high-flying, acrobatic aerial skills of true freshman wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald, who leads the Big East Conference with 9 touchdown receptions. Kickoff of the Backyard Brawl when we come back.
Gracie. Gracie. What?
To a sold-out Heinz Field, kickoff just moments away. Let's slip inside the West Virginia locker room where moments ago, Mountaineer head coach Rich Rodriguez had these words for his team.
Play. Be physical on every snap. Every player be physical on every snap. Have some fun, keep your poise, and make sure them Pitt Panthers know when they're done playing the Mountaineers, after 60 minutes, they better lace their shoes up a little tighter, a little more tape on, a little more air in their helmet, and they better do what? Throw it all! Let's go, baby. Get out.
And Rich Rodriguez, not only is he the head coach, he is an alum of West Virginia.
He would be an alumnus, Jar.
Yeah,
that's singular now.
Singular. He's only one guy. He got me excited about ready to put the helmet on a play.
Now, that's really cool to see him in the locker room like that. A 39-year-old guy who played here. He was a walk-on here. You know, how juiced is he now to be their head coach?
Back in 82 to 84, 3 years as a defensive back. Now his 2nd year at the helm of the Mountaineers. After 21 great years, Don Nehlen did so much for that program, and then one of his players comes and takes control. And how about this guy? What a job he has done resurrecting the once mighty Pittsburgh Panther program. 55-year-old Walt Harris in his 6th year at Pittsburgh. There's his record, but that doesn't, what they have done in the past year and a half is phenomenal. 14 wins in their last 17 outings. Incredible job by Walt Harris here at Pittsburgh. We are set for the 95th edition of the Backyard Brawl. Pitt won the toss, deferred. West Virginia will get the football. Mark Fazzolari will tee it up, and it blows off the tee, so we'll have to wait a few more seconds.
And if you're a Pitt fan, you're hoping that that's not a precursor of the rest of the afternoon.
Told you the temperatures were frigid. It's going to be in the mid-30s. They're expecting snow flurries, maybe some serious snow by late this afternoon here.
But, Doc, that's what you want in the backyard brawl. Get it nasty, get it muddy, get it snowy, and let's get it on.
Mike Ditka would have loved this kind of football game. He played at Pittsburgh. We'll tell you about some of the legendary players for both these teams, and we're going to have someone hold that football.
They get Spencer, who's the safety.
Wind swirling here at Heinz Field. Makes kicking field goals quite an adventure. Just kicking off an adventure here to get this one underway. Cassell Smith and Phil Braxton, the two deep guys for the Mountaineers. As Fazzolari will put his toe in it, and we are underway here at Heinz Field. Phil Braxton at his own 5-yard line. And he will tumble forward beyond the 30.
For West Virginia.
Well, the Mountaineer field marshal is redshirt sophomore quarterback Rashid Marshall. He grew up here in the Hill District of Pittsburgh, just beyond Old Pitt Stadium. Went to legendary Brashears High School. I know the Mountaineer fans will know what that high school is. That sent Major Harris to them in West Virginia. Outstanding running quarterback, runs the option extremely well. 6'1", 190 out of here in Pittsburgh. West Virginia, the no huddle, up-tempo offense. First pass completed out to Derek Smith for the loss of about a yard. Now let's take a look at today's AT&T Wireless starting lineups for the Mountaineers of West Virginia. It all begins with Doak Walker Award semifinalist, senior tailback Avon Coburn. He'll be fun to watch today.
2nd and 9.
And up front, how about Ken Sanders? He was the question mark coming into this game, hurt late against Virginia Tech just 10 days ago. Marshall will keep it himself and be up across the 37-yard line. Take a look at Pitt defensively. Big Claude Harriet up front leads the team in sacks with 6.5 a game. Leads the nation in fumbles recovered. Linebacking crew led by two-time All-Big East and preseason All-American Gerald Hayes, who leads the team in total tackles. In the secondary, senior cornerback Torrey Cox, a 2-year starter out of Miami, leads the team in passes broken up. Third down opening possession for the Mountaineers, and just off the fingertips of A.J. Nastasi. And it's 3 and out for the Mountaineers, and listen to this crowd as they appreciate the defensive effort for the homestanding Panthers of Pittsburgh.
And, Doc, that really underscores one of the keys, I think, to this football game, and that's which quarterback. They both run the ball very effectively, but which quarterback can throw it well enough to keep that defense off balance.
Fazzolari on the kick from his own 25. A wobbly, low, short kick. Bounces about the 37 and will take a Pittsburgh bounce. And that's where the Panthers will take over on their own 37-yard line. Good field position for Pittsburgh here after just a 27-yard punt.
Ball is down by number 32, Ben Collins.
Well, for the Panthers, it all begins with redshirt junior quarterback Rod Rutherford, a native of Pittsburgh, a City League All-Star here. Went to Perry Traditional Academy, became the first Pittsburgh quarterback to win in the Carrier Dome in 20 years. The last guy to do it here wearing the gold and blue, Dan Marino. You saw there he leads the Big East in total offense. Hand off to Myrie. He will get about 4 yards. And let's take a look at today's AT&T Wireless starting lineups for the Pittsburgh Panthers. We told you about the wide receiver Fitzgerald, and you just saw a moment ago the Alabama transfer, junior running back Brandon Myrie. He is a load at 235 pounds. And up front, how about Rob Not-So-Petiti? 6'6", 330 pounds. He can dominate from his left tackle position.
I'd like to have some tape of him on Thanksgiving.
First team all buffet, Rob Petiti. Second play from scrimmage for the Panthers. Inside handoff again and stood up shy of the 45 is Myrie. Up front for the Mountaineers of West Virginia, their war daddy, senior defensive end David Upchurch, anchored 2 successful goal line stands 10 days ago in the upset of Virginia Tech. And linebacker junior Grant Wiley, a 3-year starter, leads the team in tackles, former Big East Conference Rookie of the Year. And in the secondary, Angel Estrada leads the team in sacks with 5. Estrada, by the way, the Big East Conference Defensive Player of the Week earlier this year with a great effort up at Syracuse. 3rd and short for the Panthers, their opening possession. Rutherford, plenty of time, looks upfield, has the receiver and the first down in West Virginia territory.
You know, real nice job by Rutherford that time, having the patience to watch Chris Wilson finally come open. Great protection. Now watch. Pat the ball, pat the ball, pat the ball. Look to your left. Come all the way back to the middle of the field. And Chris Wilson, who's an excellent tight end, watch him come open late. And folks, that all comes back to the offensive line. That's great protection.
Rob Petiti did a great job basically pancaking the guy that he was blocking on the left side. Hand off inside again to Myrie. And if you take a look at some of the scores, Miami already up early on the Orangemen of Syracuse up at the Carrier Dome.
Estrada on the stop.
And obviously, Doc, both of our teams have a vested interest in that game, and they're rooting for Syracuse this week and Virginia Tech next week.
Last Thursday night in Miami, this Pittsburgh team took Miami down to the final 20 seconds of that football game. A pass off the fingertips of Yogi Roth, trying to tie it up, set it in overtime. Great effort by the Panthers of Pittsburgh, trying to unseat the #1 ranked team in the nation. Opening drive for the Panthers. Again, heavy dose of Brandon Myrie. We told you he is the transfer from Alabama, played at Alabama, actually redshirted in 1999. Came here and set out last year in a transfer, spent a lot of time maturing, growing up, getting physical, over 235 pounds. And the coaches have nothing but great things to say about his skills, not only on the field, but in the film room.
And they also said he plays like he practices, so they had to get his level of practice intensity up. And apparently his coach, Sean Sims, got that accomplished this season.
Rutherford looking deep, has a receiver wide open, 5-yard line, touchdown, Pittsburgh.
Now, the one thing this defense prides itself, here's Fitzgerald, folks, right here. They pride themselves on not giving up big plays, but it was play action. Number 6, Wiley, the linebacker's running underneath, and Frazier, the deep back, doesn't get there in time. And that guy right there, Fitzgerald's one of the most exciting young players in the whole country.
We told you you would enjoy the true freshman, Larry Fitzgerald, and that ties a school record for touchdowns for a freshman, his 10th of the year. As the Panthers strike early, it is Pittsburgh 7, West Virginia nothing. And he just got it early on their very first possession, now tying Dwight Collins, who played here for the Panthers back in 1980. David Abdul, freshman place kicker, will tee it up for the Panthers, and we'll see if the Mountaineers can get untracked offensively. Braxton at his own 5. Has an opening up across the 25-30. Still on his feet and finally shuffled down at around the 35-yard line.
Phil Braxton returns the kickoff.
And Doc, right here, Thaxton and Wiley on the touchdown play are supposed to bracket Fitzgerald. Watch what happens with play action. They're both going to get bloody noses. By that I mean they come towards the line of scrimmage. At this point, it's over. You're not going to catch him. Fitzgerald gets over the top. There's no help, and that's unusual in this West Virginia defense. Usually they back it up to keep away from big plays.
And Avon Coburn. Let's check in back in New York at Times Square Stadium. An update on Miami with John Saunders.
All right, the Coors Light update. And the Hurricanes didn't take long. It's about 13 minutes still left in the first quarter. Willis McGahee busts this one 61 yards for the touchdown. The Canes up 7-0. Doc.
Very much, John. Hurricanes getting it done early up inside the Carrier Dome. Another handoff inside. Big hole left side. Coburn nearly breaks it. And Tez Morris saves the touchdown, the free safety. If he sidesteps that tackle, then we're talking 6 for the Mountaineers.
First down, West Virginia.
And that's West Virginia football right there. They're going 2 back here, Doc, for the first time today. Fullback in the game. They like ISO and toss sweep and play action.
8-man front for the Panthers. They will toss it back, as you said, to Coburn, who finds his way up near the 47-yard line.
Avon Coburn, the ball carrier.
Well, tonight ABC Sports has 2 of the best rivalries in college football. You'll see number 7 Notre Dame against the Trojans of USC, number 6, or Florida State from Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee. That's tonight, 8 Eastern Time, 5 Pacific on ABC Sports, the class of college football. Check local listings for the game in your area. 2 great ones tonight coming up.
Yeah, it really is, and there's an awful lot at stake, especially in that Notre Dame USC game, as we'll get into a little later.
Florida State trying to stop the bleeding after being struggling the last couple outings. End around for West Virginia, and great open field tackle.
I don't
Travis
know.
Garvin.
Doc, was it the tackle or was it the turf? I'm not sure. Huh? Now watch what happens here on the reverse, folks, okay? Watch the quarterback get the block on Guzik right there, lays on top of him. Now, I think Nemo gets a little bit of a block, but in the open field, he fell down. Could have been 6 points.
Yeah, Torrey Cox may have gotten just a hand on the shoestring, and again, Coburn. Big East all-time leading rusher, 4 consecutive years at West Virginia, over 1,000 yards rushing.
And Doc, I saw 2 people slip on that long reverse. And remember, this field was all torn up after last weekend. They had 4 high school games played Friday and Saturday. And after the Steelers game on Sunday, they ripped up the entire field. So it looks to me like the footing is still questionable, even with the new turf.
2nd and 5 for the Mountaineers. Their second possession. They were 3 and out the first time they had the football, this time penetrating into Panther territory. Again, backside slashing cut for Coburn. Now, you were talking about what this field was last week. On Monday of this week, they had pulled up, they were pulling up the old turf and laying down brand new turf here at Heinz Field. You talked about the sand they had last week for the Steelers game, and of course the 4 high school games. Footing was very iffy. The crews did a heck of a job putting down brand new turf, but the weather just hasn't cooperated here. It's been very cold. We've had some sleet and freezing rain, some snow flurries the last couple of days. Been tough on the brand new turf.
Now, it looks good, but people are already slipping, so we got to keep an eye on that.
3rd and 3, and Marshall will be stopped for no gain. Big Claude Harriet, the junior left end out of Belgrade, Florida, there to make the stop.
And that young man has come out of nowhere to have an all Big East type season. He replaces Brian Knight, who's in the NFL now. Had a huge year from that defensive end position.
Leads the nation with 7 forced fumbles, and of course leads the team with 6.5 sacks. Todd James will try it from 42 yards away to put the Mountaineers on the scoreboard.
Yeah, he's only 1 of 4 outside of 40.
Got plenty of leg. And it is good. So both teams now striking early here in the 95th edition of the Backyard Brawl. West Virginia on the scoreboard, a 42-yard field goal. Renewal of the Backyard Brawl. Largest crowd to see a sporting event in the modern era in the city of Pittsburgh. They had 64,000 for the AFC Championship game here last January. On a cool and overcast, a fairly frigid overcast day, they have jammed in here to see the oldest rivalry in Big East Conference history. They've been playing every year since 1943, 60 consecutive years. The rivalry actually started back in 1895. See, Pittsburgh leads the series 58-33-3. Now the visiting team has won 10 of the last 15. So the onside kick rumbles down and will be picked up by Brian Bennett. This ABC Sports presentation of college football is being brought to you by Chevy, the cars you can depend on, the cars that last. We'll be there. By Rocky Mountain Cold, Coors Light, cold down easy. By Home Depot, driving down the cost of home improvement. And by Sprint, introducing PCS Vision, clearly a whole new way to look at wireless.
Okay, they're double tight for the first time today. They have Eric Gill in the game. This is a run set for them.
Started out early on in their first possession, running to Myrie. Again, they will hand it to Myrie. He has stood up at the line of scrimmage. Great effort by James. They call him Dirty Davis. Likes to get that uniform dirty early on, and he's helmet to helmet with Brandon Myrie.
And their two most aggressive football players are their outside linebackers, Davis and Wiley. You know, they each have over 100 tackles this year, and what they try to do is keep them freed up. They keep people off them so they can try and make one-on-one tackles.
Tied with former Mountaineer Kyle Hayden for the all-time tackle for loss record, which he expects to be able to get today. 2nd and 10 for the Panthers. Rutherford takes it, cuts back, dancing upfield, and should be very close to the first down mark.
Now, a key component to the Pittsburgh offense are planned runs by the quarterback. They get to it a variety of ways. That time he faked the pass to the outside, a little quarterback draw. The line did a good job getting out in front of him. Good job right there by Adai made the tackle, but several yards down the field after the first down.
A little bit surprised that Pittsburgh able to run the ball fairly easily early on against what has been a very good West Virginia defense.
And they got 8 in the box again, and they're still running the football right at them.
Up across the 50-yard line. Give a call to that Pittsburgh Panther offensive line. A veteran front. About 148 starts among the 5 of them. They've been here for quite a while. Chad Rigg, you saw him a moment ago. He's the quarterback of that offensive line at center. A Remington Trophy watch list candidate early in the year. Second and a handful for the Panthers. Again, Myrie, big hole, left side, cuts it back, and will have the first down near the 40-yard line. Well, coming up next Saturday, don't miss a great college football triple header at 1 Eastern time. It's Virginia Tech, Miami, presented by AT&T. Then at 4:30 Eastern, Washington State battles UCLA, and at 8 Eastern, Oklahoma takes on Colorado in the Dr. Pepper Big 12 Championship. That's next Saturday right here on ABC.
And Doc, if you're a USC fan, you find yourself in the ironic position of being the biggest rooter for UCLA in the country, like our producer, Jack Graham. He's having real problems understanding that he's got to root for the blue.
That's like some of these guys today pulling for Syracuse up there against Miami.
That's right.
Brandon Myrie prior to that carry. That's Jawan Walker on the carry, his first of the day. Myrie, 7 carries for 31 yards. So a lot of the Alabama transfer.
And I think Walt Harris really would like to be able to establish run here. I think both coaches know it's going to be very physical. Walt told us yesterday they got to get their big guys pushing and grunting, get it into the third and fourth quarter and try and wear this team down a little bit. They've got a little bit of a size advantage against that front 8 from West Virginia.
Walker the lone setback. Second offensive possession for the Panthers. Again the give to Walker. And as you mentioned, Mike, great movement up front, physical movement up front from this Pittsburgh Panther offensive line.
You know, the right side there, Brian Anderson is 320. Matt Morgan, the right tackle, is 300. Watch these guys right over here and watch how they push off. Great job by the tight end, Chris Wilson, number 83 on the down block. And that's good football. 4 or 5 yards, keep picking it up, pushing them backwards.
Brian Anderson early on the Outland Trophy and Lombardi watch list. Big right guard. And the pass intended for Larry Fitzgerald hits the ground and will be incomplete. That'll bring up 4th and a couple, and obviously this crowd, partisan crowd of Panther fans, would like to see Walt Harris go for it. And
well, they put in Polite, the big fullback, if that's any indication, Doc.
Lusaka Polite, he runs over people.
4th and almost 3 here. I think you got to keep the football in the hands of your quarterback on a pass run option, or throw it up to your number 1 right down there, Larry Fitzgerald.
Rutherford back to pass, gets some pressure, dances away, and he will be shy of the first down by about a yard. Great defensive effort. In fact, Rutherford will lose a yard. And so the Mountaineers will take over. Great tackle by Grant Wiley, the left outside linebacker. The ball is snapped for West Virginia's third possession of the game. Avon Coburn. West Virginia taking over, and as I told you, these teams don't like each other. Torrey Cox having a few words with Mr. Coburn. Imagine Torrey saying something to somebody. I think he loves to talk. He may be the most outspoken individual. Watching him last week against Miami, he's from Miami, Florida, and said, I love to talk on every play and try to get them to talk back to me and get their mind off what they're trying to do on the football game.
Doc, they call it a brawl for a reason, man.
Coburn on the inside handoff should be near the first half. Now here's our Pontiac Performance drive summary on the first two drives for the Panthers of Pittsburgh.
And it was very important, Jerry, that after that first drive of 63 yards for a touchdown, that West Virginia defense needed to step up and make a play, and they did it on 4th and 3. They stopped Rutherford. That was a key early in the game.
So they will measure here to see if the Mountaineers did indeed get the first down. We just joined us. This is the 95th renewal of the backyard brawl, and indeed is the first down for West Virginia. High stakes in this one. The winner of this football game guaranteed at least a runner-up finish in the Big East Conference, and probably and most likely a New Year's Day bowl bid to the Gator Bowl.
And Rich Rodriguez, of course, excited about that. They went 3-8 his first year back at West Virginia. 8-3 this year. Quite a turnaround.
Biggest turnaround in Big East Conference history for Rich Rodriguez and his staff. Backside handoff to Quincy Wilson. He is the backup, and they don't lose a thing when Quincy comes into the football game. In fact, they may gain some speed.
Yeah, a little bit different running styles, but, you know, Coburn averages 135 yards a game. They go to this kid. He averages 72 yards a game. So from that tailback position, they're getting over 200 yards a game, which is unbelievable.
They're talking about Coburn only had 80 yards against Virginia Tech. That's because this guy had over 150. Second and 3 for the Mountaineers. Again a reverse, and that is Garvin has some running room. 40-35, and will be thrown out of bounds just inside the 35-yard line. Sean Robinson, the left cornerback, forces him out of bounds after a gain of 14.
And the funny thing is Garvin actually outran his tackle out in front of him, Tim Brown. Take a look here. Garvin had 2 reverses against Tech. This is his second already today. Left side of the screen. He's got big number 60 in front of him, outruns him, and Sean Robinson actually does a nice job minimizing the gain on the play.
Garvin 30 yards on 2 reverses. Cutting it back is Coburn. Now you understand why he has gained so many yards, and he is such an electrifying back to watch. Lewis Moore there, the strong side linebacker, to make the stop.
And we just talked about 135 for Avon Coburn a game, Quincy Wilson at 72 a game, and then the quarterback, even after you figure in the sacks, he's got another 53 a game. Guys, that's 261 yards on the ground among those 3.
And they will hand it off inside, fighting forward. Now we're seeing some pretty good movement up front from this West Virginia offensive line. Claude Harriet makes a stop on Coburn.
And that's Jeff Lewis right there. He's the backup right guard. Ken Sandor's had a little bit of an ankle problem, and Lewis has gotten more playing time the last couple of weeks.
Avon Coburn, only 5 feet 9 inches tall, as he has gone out to take a break. And Quincy Wilson, the junior from Weirton, West Virginia, in. It'll be Marshall taking it himself on the boot near side. As we check in back in New York, an update from Times Square Stadium on Tennessee with John Saunders.
Well, Doc, you know it has not been a great year for the Volunteers. Still can get their 8th victory today. That's Jabari Davis did drop the ball, but the officials rule he cleared the plane. Touchdown stands. Tennessee leads Kentucky 14-0.
Speaking of arch rivals, that's a big one there. Those schools, Tennessee and Kentucky, don't like each other either. And as he said, Tennessee, the Volunteers have had their struggles this year, particularly early in the year at the quarterback position. smothered under, maybe for the loss of about a half a yard. Vince Fortunas, the nose tackle, coming in to bring Rasheed Marshall down.
And it's interesting to watch two teams who both bring the quarterback directly into their run game. And what that does is it gives an extra blocker to the run game, because usually the quarterback's not accounted for. I'm sorry, Jerry, what they're doing now is they're substituting. Remember, they're a no-huddle team. So it forces Pitt. Now Pitt's all confused. Look at them running around. They don't know how to match up because they weren't able to get substitutes in the game.
3rd and 5. Marshall will take it on the quarterback draw. 10, 5, 3, 2. Touchdown, Mountaineers. Final play of the first quarter, and West Virginia gets 6. What a run by the redshirt sophomore quarterback Rasheed Marshall.
And I watched a bunch of tape with this team, and when they spread the field like that with 4 and 5 wide receivers, you better watch out for quarterback draw.
Extra point by Todd James is up and good. And the West Virginia drive, 9 plays, 66 yards, all on the ground. The final 19, Rasheed Marshall puts the Mountaineers on top here in the backyard brawl. The touchdown by West Virginia.
Remember, there's 4 wide receivers in the game. You've spread them out. Look at what happens to the middle linebacker right there, Hayes. You bust it right up the middle on a missed tackle by Torrey Cox on the 5-yard line, and a great job by Rasheed Marshall. Those 19 yards right up the middle. And when they spread that field, your middle linebacker has got to be aware that the quarterback is a running threat.
Marshall's 12th rushing touchdown of the year. The drive, 9 plays, 66 yards, 3.5 minutes as they will put a little more tape on Rasheed's right ankle. Mountaineers up for the first time today, 10-7, as we will kick it off to begin the second quarter here at Heinz Field. Mike, as we expected at the top of the show, both teams trying to establish the run. Brandon Myree running the ball effectively initially for Rod Rutherford and company. And then they use the over-the-top to Larry Fitzgerald for their 7. But then West Virginia counters with heavy Avon Coburn, then the option of Rasheed Marshall.
Yeah, and it's kind of as scripted, Jerry. West Virginia's got into their comfort zone now. They're running the ball effectively. Pittsburgh needs to run it and then go up top to Fitzgerald, which is what they did for the touchdown. Chris Wilson, tight end, jumped.
And that'll cost them 5.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
And there's J.T. Smith, John Smith, our Big East referee.
Panthers first and 10.
We mentioned these two teams playing for a possible New Year's Day bowl berth. Big East champion goes to the BCS. If Miami can win these next 2 or win one of the next 2, they will be BCS bound, as they have gotten up early on Syracuse. Speaking of Miami, let's go back and check with John Saunders at Times Square Stadium. What's going on with Miami, John?
Well, Ken Dorsey's having a pretty good game, Doc. How about 6 for 6, including this 23 yards to Ethnic Sands, who could not have been more wide open in the end zone. The Canes now up 14-0 late in the first quarter.
Early after the near miss or the close call, they've had the 3 close calls in their last 4 football games. Had to come from behind the second half to beat Rutgers. A 1-point win against Florida State as they smother under Rod Rutherford. That is James Davis, the right outside linebacker.
Stop by number 1, James Davis.
And you talk about why this guy has over 100 tackles. He's a former safety. He's got great speed. He's bulked up to 225 pounds. And you're going to see number 1 from over on the corner of the screen flash all the way from the backside. Rutherford turns it up. He looks like he's got something. And what happens? -2. That's great hustle by a 225-pound outside linebacker.
James Davis, one of 21 Mountaineers seniors playing their final backyard brawl. Rutherford will look back, looks upfield, has a receiver. Guess who? Larry Fitzgerald ducks under 2 blocks and scampers up to the 40-yard line.
Rutherford's pass complete to number 1, Larry Fitzgerald.
I've seen a lot of talented young wide receivers this year, but Fitzgerald in the slot, he's just going to play possum a little bit down the middle of the field. Now he reads zone, and he's going to get in behind Leonard. Does a great job. The tackle by a dive missed. Lenort misses the tackle. Big, strong, physical kid that really can catch the football.
J.D. Brookhart said Fitzgerald has the best ball skills of anybody he's ever seen, much less coached. And this young man is a true freshman. Now it's time for the Pacific Life game summary. Our first quarter stats. Look at the rushing yards for the Mountaineers, and that's heavy Avon Coburn.
Yeah, and they average 292 yards a game on the ground, which is number 2 in the country. They've only thrown for 1 yard. And Jerry, if I would have any concern from what the West Virginia side is that they've got to throw the ball just enough to keep Pittsburgh from putting 8 and 9 in the box.
So the spread will work if you have an effective passing game. It may not if you don't. Speaking of throwing the football, Rutherford hits Fitzgerald again, dances by. Pretty good outside block there by Lamar Slade, his fellow wide receiver. Finally, Jermaine Thaxton able to shove him out of bounds, but Fitzgerald will have the first down.
And Fitzgerald went to high school in Minnesota. Then he decided he wanted to get his grades up a little bit more and went to Valley Forge Military Academy outside of Philadelphia. He's one of 4 Pittsburgh players that went to Valley Forge, and there's also 2 guys from West Virginia. Already has 3 catches for 62 yards and a touchdown. And as I said earlier, he's one of the top 2 or 3 young receivers in the country.
Came in leading the Big East in receptions per game, almost 5 a game. Told you already led the conference in touchdown catches. Again, Fitzgerald wide open down on the 35-yard line, giving him quite a bit of cushion is the West Virginia secondary.
Yeah, and I'm a little surprised they were manned up on him. They've got Jamel Adai on him who can't cover him. There's no way. Watching the slot again. Adai is about 12 yards deep, and he's playing man coverage. That's stealing right there. He just breaks it out and gets some help from the corner, Frazier, who fell off of his receiver. And that's good recognition by Pitt. Good play calling by Walt Harris. You got to get some more help on number 1.
I formation. Rutherford in the option. Will pitch it back to Myrie. Has a seam and will carry it down inside the 30-yard line, down about the 27. Nice mix of play calling by Pittsburgh offensive coordinator J.D. Brookhart. Of course, and Walt Harris, the head coach on the sideline, also involved with the play selection. There you see Walt on the sideline. Walt with the headset on, talking to J.D. upstairs in the box. Sort of a combination effort on the play selection. Walt likes to be actively involved in what's happening since he is actually the quarterback coach.
Yeah, and he always has been. He's got a great reputation. Came from Ohio State. You know, he had Bobby Hoying there. He's always been a very, very successful guy. Had Boomer Esiason with the Jets.
Myrie fights his way down to inside the 20-yard line. Physical football game. You knew we'd have it. That's why they call it the backyard brawl. Well, Monday night, Al Michaels and John Madden are in Oakland for a grudge match between 2 AFC playoff contenders. The postseason hopes of the Jets are riding on the arm of young Chad Pennington. Rich Gannon has Oakland back on track and making their own playoff run. It's the Jets and Raiders Monday night at 9 Eastern Time, 6 Pacific on ABC. Brandon Myrie, 10 carries for 49 yards, and we are still early here in the second quarter. And that one...
Get on the ball. Okay, it's incomplete. It's close to a lateral.
Very close.
Yeah. That's their 3rd attempt at that wide receiver screen. They really haven't had any luck with it at all today.
You mentioned Fitzgerald growing up in Minneapolis. He was a ball boy for the Minnesota Vikings from the time he was 13. Talked about watching Anthony Carter, Chris Carter and company. That's how he learned his skill, watching those guys. He said they let him watch him if he would wash their car. Nice trade out, huh?
I think he was born with some of that skill too, Doug.
Absolutely. It's God-given ability. Myrie down inside, down near the 15-yard line. Mentioned Brandon Myrie transferred from Alabama. He redshirted at Alabama back in 1999. In 2000, he broke his leg in spring practice down in Tuscaloosa. Played in all 11 games, had over 420 yards rushing, including 96 against Arkansas. In 2001, he actually played in the first 2 games of the year, UCLA and Vanderbilt, then transferred to Pittsburgh and set out the remainder of the year so he could play this year here as a Pitt Panther.
And Doc, his 2 biggest games this year were against the 2 toughest run defenses. That's what I like.
Well, Pittsburgh will talk it over, so we'll take time out with them from here at Heinz Field. Corner, Heinz Field, Pittsburgh Panthers on the march, 3rd and 5. Line of scrimmage, the West Virginia 16-yard line.
They're manned up on Fitzgerald. Throw it up in the corner of the end zone.
That's his specialty, the fade. He did it against, there he is, attack. Rutherford looks for the open. He's still scrambling around, being chased, and will throw it out of bounds.
Smart play.
They had Larry Fitzgerald on man coverage.
Initially, they were going to run fade, but then when the corner dropped off, they ran the post corner route. Pretty good coverage by Brian King, but given, you see, he's right with them. I really believe, though, that had Rutherford thrown that ball up early to the back of the end zone, with his ball skills, he'd have made the play.
David Abdul will try from 33 to tie it up. True freshman kicker is true through the uprights.
And it's good.
And so Michael here in the second quarter, exactly what we thought was going to happen. It's basically an even football game. A lot of physical up front, pushing around the offensive line. You know, Avon Coburn, a lot of West Virginia running the football, and a lot of Larry Fitzgerald from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we're getting exactly what we expected. As advertised, West Virginia's running the football. Coburn looks great. Quincy Wilson looks good. They have to be able to throw the ball a little bit. And for Pitt, excellent mix. I think both offensive lines are dominating this football game right now.
And the fans are having a blast here. A sellout crowd at Heinz Field, as we're expecting a crowd estimate of over 67,000 here, which would be a record for a sporting event in the modern era in the city of Pittsburgh. 95th renewal of the backyard brawl. Both these teams coming in 8-3 overall, 5-1 in the Big East Conference. And of course a game behind Miami, who's playing up in command early on up at Syracuse against the Orange Men.
But keep in mind, Jerry, we all talk about the BCS. Look at the fellas out there. How much money does it cost to go there?
Their parents are going to be very proud of those. Yeah, they're here having a good time, enjoying college football.
But the one thing I wanted to focus on is it's not just the BCS. On top of it, if Miami stumbles just one time against Virginia Tech, they'll still go to the BCS, but the winner of this game will get a championship ring. And the players are cognizant of that.
And there are 35 seniors here today. 21 for West Virginia and 14 for Pittsburgh, as that ball will bound out of bounds. As we check in on Tennessee, go back to Times Square Stadium in New York, and John Saunders.
Doc taking on Kentucky, and Casey Clausen's going to find a wide open Derek Tinsley. Little fake, plenty of time in the pocket, and just put some air under it. Tinsley runs underneath the ball, 35 yards for the touchdown. Tennessee up 21-0.
Volunteers getting it done at Neyland Stadium.
Not a surprise. Their traditional Thanksgiving weekend foe is Vanderbilt, in-state Vanderbilt, but the SEC schedule has switched up this year.
Well, while we've got a moment, let's check in with our Aflac trivia question. Who was the first coach in West Virginia school history to lead his team to 2 bowl games during his tenure?
You know what? I'm guessing I got that one.
We'll let you think about that. Fake to Coburn. Marshall sidesteps the tackler, has some time, and will dance back up near the original line of scrimmage as he's chased out of bounds by Lewis Moore.
I'm trying to think that question through a little bit, because obviously people would be thinking Don Nalen, who had a long career there. However, if you go back to the mid-70s, a lot of people forget Bobby Bowden was the coach at West Virginia. As a matter of fact, when I was at Boston College, he was just leaving West Virginia to go down to Florida State. So I'm going to go Bowden because of the ABC connection.
Bobby Bowden would be a good guess. We'll have to find out the answer to our Aflac trivia question here very shortly. Hand off to Quincy Wilson, and he will be up across the 40 to about the 42-yard line. Bobby Bowden didn't have it easy at West Virginia. He talks about being hung in effigy there a couple of times early on when they weren't winning, because these are rabid fans. They love their football in Morgantown. But then he turned it around.
See, Rich Rodriguez is a great caretaker for this program. He's only 39 years old. He's an alumnus. He's a former walk-on, and he just loves being back there. He doesn't need it as a stepping stone anywhere else. He's great right there.
3rd and 3 for the Mountaineers, and the pass right at the sticks. Looks like they will mark it probably good enough for the first down. We are at Heinz Field for the 95th renewal of the Backyard Brawl, the longest rivalry in Big East Conference history. As we have a record crowd, I'm Jerry Punch along with Mike Mayock. Glad to have you with us, as the 21st ranked Mountaineers of West Virginia have come to Pittsburgh, and we are all knotted up at 10 apiece here with just under 9 minutes to go in the first half.
Good hit there by Gerald Hayes, the middle linebacker of Pittsburgh, and we haven't called him a lot yet today. His 3rd tackle, all Big East. Last 2 years, he's up for a lot of national recognition, and Jerry, he's just kind of the heart and soul of that Pitt defense.
Gerald Hayes, a preseason All-American for the Panthers. Coburn dances out of a couple of holes and will be up near the first down. Lewis Moore finally runs him down. Well, coming up next, Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Mark O'Meara, and Fred Couples battle it out in a Thanksgiving weekend classic. The ConAgra Foods Skins game is next, right here on ABC. Our buddy Mike Tirico out in Palm Springs enjoying the sun. That should be a good one. The Skins game coming your way next here after the Backyard Brawl. 3rd and short. The Mountaineers will have the first down on the quarterback sneak.
Rich Rodriguez signals in plays along with one of his assistant coaches.
Talked about West Virginia, 2nd in the nation in rushing, 292 yards a game. And this Pitt defense, 2nd in the Big East in rushing defense. So it's best against best. Speaking of best, let's check in back in New York at Times Square Stadium on Miami with John Saunders.
Well, Doc, anyone who thought Syracuse had a chance in this game might want to watch Ken Dorsey on this play. He has all the time in the world. 4 yards to Andre Johnson. Just throws a strike in there. He's 10 of 10 for 177 yards.
So Miami up 21-zip early against the Orangemen of Syracuse. Been a tough year for Paul Pasqualone and his company up there.
Quincy Wilson in the game, tailback. Doesn't set up his blocks quite as well as Coburn, but it has a better burst, a little quicker. Their I formation, ISO, toss, and play action.
On 3rd and about a yard and a half, Wilson will get the call. And great lateral pursuit by this Panther defense. For an ACL, the senior playing his final game.
And Wilson on the stretch play looking for first down yardage. Watch Lewis Moore, 48, and from the inside, the strong safety, Ursler. Go ahead, Joe.
Ursler, a Pittsburgh native. We mentioned he tore his ACL back in April in spring practice. Had it operated on. Saw his first action this year against Boston College in late October. 4th and about 2.5, and they will go for it here.
Probably roll this way to the wide side. He's looking over to the sideline, changing the play now. Rodriguez screamed it in.
Marshall in the shotgun, and
West Virginia, 1st of the half.
Rich Rodriguez wants to talk it over, a little unsure as to what they might do some confusion, so they'll talk it over and come back. It'll be 4th and 3 for the Mountaineers. 54-yard field goal. If they opted to kick it, they will go for it here from on 4th and 4. 4th and 3 here on the 37-yard line. Down the line, the option for Marshall, and he will not be able to pitch it. He will get nowhere. Great lateral movement by Krochunas and Dan Stevens, the inside tackles for Pittsburgh.
Went option back into the short side, and that interior defensive line did a wonderful job keeping those linebackers open. We got a late flag.
We had a sideline warning. Pittsburgh, first of the game.
Coaches always love that. Look at Walt. They coaches, that drives them crazy, and I don't blame them.
That's Paul Rhodes, the defensive coordinator, talking to the linesman there. That's Todd LaPenta, the Big East linesman, talking to Paul Rhodes about Paul gets a little excited, and he's loving the effort by his defense. Fitzgerald on the reception, finally out on the flanker, able to make the catch and up across the 40-yard line. Well, we told you a moment ago our Affleck trivia question. Who was the first coach in West Virginia school history to lead his team to 2 bowl games during his tenure?
I went with Bowden. Let's see what happens.
All right, survey says Bobby Bowden. Good job, Michael.
I got my
Bowden, 1972, 1975 Peach Bowl.
I got my first start as a freshman at Boston College against West Virginia, and I broke Bobby's son's collarbone, Tommy.
And you know who they played in those 2 Peach Bowls? Played the same school. North Carolina State. You got it. Big hole inside for Maury, 45, 40, steps out of the tackle, 35. And the Panthers are threatening once again.
I mentioned earlier, both offensive lines are doing a great job. Watch what happens with that Pittsburgh offensive line. They get a real good push right here. Myrie picks the correct hole. Now he's going to look at the move he put on Brian King. He broke King's ankles right there. And if you're Brian King, a 6-foot, 180-pound cornerback, you don't want to break ankles against a 240-pound tailback.
Great block up front by Dan Lacarte of Charleroi, Pennsylvania, the left guard. Gain of a couple on that carry.
You can sense both defensive coordinators. Looks like Myrie is down. Hope he's okay. There we go. Both defensive coordinators getting a little edgy because both offenses are very capable of running the football so far today.
Talking to Walt Harris and the coaches, so they couldn't be more pleased with the attitude of a Brandon Myrie. So they, not only are they great football players, they're great kids off the football field. I had a chance to visit with Brandon Myrie, and Walt Harris said this young man has really added a lot to our football team off the football field. Rutherford looks, has it picked off, and West Virginia will take over. Angel Estrada, who gets the pick, and the Mountaineers will be headed back in the other direction. Take a look at Rutherford rolling out, trying to look upfield, and Estrada says, no way. This one's heading back Mountaineer country. Pittsburgh, a battle of the Big East beasts. Take a look at the turnover margin. We just added one more for West Virginia on the interception by Estrada. They are all knotted up. Physical football. What a great effort by this Panther defense.
They are just absolutely crushing people out there. This is so much fun. I want to hear that.
Helmet cracking, pad popping. That's what the backyard brawl is all about. Lewis Moore.
He took about 4 legit shots on that one run.
And gain of about a yard. This ABC Sports presentation of college football is brought to you by Pontiac, fuel for the soul. Pacific Life, annuities, insurance, and investments rely on the strength of Pacific Life. And by Dr. Pepper and your local Dr. Pepper bottler. Be you, nothing's better, Dr. Pepper.
Doc, they're getting into it right now.
And so is the crowd. They roar their approval.
What a move.
Wide open downfield at the 30-yard line. That's Phil Braxton. And Torrey Cox is hanging on for dear life. And Braxton carries Cox inside the 30-yard line.
What a great move that time. Tez Morris is the defensive back. Watch what happens when they get in space out here. Morris turns his back. Great move to the outside. The ball is delivered, and Braxton just makes a wonderful move. And a huge play in the pass offense, which is what we talked about West Virginia needs to do occasionally. Be efficient in the pass offense.
Gain of 29, and Torrey Cox saved the touchdown. Deep go. Wide open Marshall. 10-5, and he is down at the 5-yard line. Danny Embick, the backup quarterback, on the pass.
That is unbelievable. The reverse to Embeck. As we start to roll this, you're going to see Embeck, number 15, the quarterback right here. He's the backup. Look down here and over here. He's got his choice. He comes back to Marshall, the quarterback, who takes it all the way down to the 5-yard line. Doc, how much fun is this?
54 yards on 2 West Virginia plays. How about this Rich Rodriguez offense?
Oh, this is so much fun.
Coburn on the toss, and he fights his way inside the 5. What an effort by the 5'9", 190-pound all-time leading rusher in the Big East Conference.
This is so much fun.
Studio, Times Square Stadium in New York for our Capital One halftime show. All the highlights and what's happening up in the Carrier Dome up in Syracuse with top-ranked Miami. Tennessee up early on Kentucky down in Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. Malcolm not as big as Beinecke, just 6'1", 220. Second and goal for the Mountaineers. We are all knotted up with just 2 minutes to go here in the first half.
There's Postel coming in at linebacker. I think you go right at him on that side.
Let's see what they do, Michael. They will go right side, right up the middle with Coburn. They fight and push and shove. And Coburn rotates off the pile and scores.
How about that effort? And right there with the West Virginia fans, this is an unbelievable effort. It looks like he's got to be stopped. Look at him, he's stopped. There's no way he's going anywhere right now. Now he gets the big rotation, 180, 360. He almost ran over his own tight end, Torrey Johnson, who expected him to be tackled also.
It looked like Charles Spencer had a hand on him, and he just rode a little spin cycle from Avon Coburn as he puts the Mountaineers up by 6. Uh-oh.
That's Charles Spencer, who's the backup defensive tackle, who's a
here in the first half. As the Mountaineers are now up by 6, and Todd James will try to make it 7. With the extra point. And that's where it stands with West Virginia up on top 17-10. Minute 45 left here in the first half. Now let's take a look at our BCS, our Tostitos BCS standings. We head toward the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. Top ranked
payoff for Notre Dame.
High end over end kick taken by Torrey Cox. It is on 3-yard line. Cuts it to the outside. Dangerous kickoff return, man. As the flag comes down, as Cox is shoved out of bounds at about the 20-yard line.
Number 4, Lewis Daniels of Southwest Virginia.
Be interesting to see now. Remember, on the last possession, Rod Rutherford and Pitt were driving. They were down on the plus side of the field, and Rutherford made, in my opinion, a horrible decision on the interception.
Rutherford has played awfully well this year for the Panthers of Pittsburgh, but a couple of plays, a play here last Thursday against Miami.
Personal foul, face mask, kicking team, 15-yard penalty, first down.
So it's the...
But Doc, the big thing with me and Rutherford, and also Walt Harris when we talked to him yesterday, is ball security. He's thrown 10 interceptions, now 11, and he's lost 7 fumbles. He's given the football away 18 times in less than 12 games. That's not acceptable.
That was the big difference in this Pittsburgh team a year ago in the second half of the year when they won 6 in a row, was not turning the ball over. Pass to Myrie, and he will dance up beyond the first down stick for a gain of about 11.
A typical screen. They had people looking front side to Fitzgerald. They came backside. Watch the backside, the right side of the line. Anderson and Morgan sneak out. They come back and they pick up first down. Not a problem.
And pass complete upfield to Chris Wilson, the tight end, down in West Virginia territory. So in the final minute here of the first half, Pittsburgh trying to get back on the scoreboard and knock this one up.
Yeah, and Doc, you know, a little right back action, no huddle. Here we come, West Virginia. And that time by Rutherford, an excellent job finding Chris Wilson for his second reception today.
Gain of 22 on the Rutherford to Wilson completion. Rutherford looks downfield. Plenty of time, has a receiver wide open and throws it late. Almost gets it picked off by Brian King. Brian King, who made the interception basically to save the football game up at Blacksburg, Virginia last Wednesday night.
Uh-oh. Check it out, folks. That's Spencer, the backup defensive tackle, the big redshirt freshman. We're told he's being taken in for x-rays on his leg, and we'll update you as soon as we have an idea. Now, Doc, if I'm Pitt, I'm looking for number 1. They need to get him re-involved here. Split backs is pass formation for them.
Second and 10. Final minute of the first half. Rutherford looks downfield, overthrows the intended receiver, and is picked off by King. He will bring it back to the 20-yard line and dash out of bounds at about the 25. 2 consecutive Pittsburgh possessions end up in interceptions. He's in West Virginia territory.
And with all the tape I watched, that's my pet peeve with this guy. Sometimes he throws the football high. He's looking for his tight end coming down the field. That ball is way too much air under it. That's an easy interception for King. Second interception today. 12th on the season, along with 7 lost fumbles. And you just can't do that against a good football team. Third interception for defensive back Brian King.
There's the turnover margin. Pittsburgh has given it up twice on 2 consecutive possessions. They hand it off to Coburn, who cuts it back. They'll be up across the 30. Remember, coming up next, our Capital One halftime show with John Saunders and Terry Bowden at Times Square Stadium in New York. Update you on what's happening up at Syracuse with the top-ranked Hurricanes of Miami and the Orangemen of Syracuse. What's going on in Knoxville, Tennessee with the Volunteers.
Doc, there's 20 seconds or so left. They'll probably let that be the last play. That's a heck of a half.
And the first down will stop the clock momentarily to move the chains. Final 21 seconds of the first half.
Coburn comes out. Wilson comes in. Let's see if Rodriguez wants to take a shot here, or if he's just going to let it run down.
Well, we expected a physical football game here in the 95th edition of the Backyard Brawl, and indeed it has been. The difference has been turnovers, 2 by Pittsburgh, and West Virginia will take it in the locker room at halftime with a 7-point lead at halftime. It is West Virginia 17, Pittsburgh 10. When we come back, the Capital One halftime show from New York with John Saunders and
4 times. They converted 3 for 17 points. Conversely, Pitt had the ball on the West Virginia side 5 times. They only converted twice. They had 2 turnovers, both really bad interceptions by Rutherford, and also lost it on down. So once again, it's Pitt moving it between the 20s, but West Virginia taking advantage of the turnovers.
Pittsburgh's had trouble in the red zone all year long, less than 50% scoring touchdowns inside the 20-yard line, and again, that's biting them here in this finale for the 2002 regular season. Pittsburgh trying to get back. They will get the ball early in the first and the second half and try to get back on the scoreboard. And I'm sure that Coach Harris has had a talk with his quarterback, gotten in his ear at halftime about the turnovers, being careful with the football.
Hey, Jerry, you know, we talked to Walt with me.
Probably having a great time. There's Walt Harris, who's not having a very good time in the first half, watching his quarterback turn it over on the final 2 possessions of the first half. Todd James of West Virginia will tee it up, and the 2 men deep for the Panthers, Torrey Cox and Shante Spencer. There is a look at James. the junior from Bentleyville, Pennsylvania. Torrey Cox, a dangerous return man. One of the leading kickoff returners in the country, averaging over 24 yards of return. High floater, and Cox will have it on his own 9-yard line. Oh, and he dances up across the 30. Take a look at our Pacific Life game summary. Our first half highlights.
It started off Fitzgerald on the play action. Pittsburgh scores first to go up 7-0. But then quarterback draw off 4 wide. Rashid Marshall goes 19 yards. And we talk about turnovers. Horrible one. Angel Estrada makes the good play, but that interception leads to this, one of the most exciting 1-yard runs you'll ever see as Coburn gets into the end zone.
And you hear that's Lou. There's the crowd is cheering, not boo. That's Lou Pasaka. Lou Saka Polite, I should say. Likes to run over people. How would you like to have a guy whose name is Polite, who just runs over you, knocks you down, gets up high? My name is Mr. Polite.
That's kind of one of those contradictions in terms, right? What do they call that? Dichotomy?
Yeah, a contradiction in terms.
Oh, okay. You're the doctor.
Okay. Second play of the second half. Brandon Myrie, big hole right side. He will have the first down up near midfield. Brought down about the 48-yard line by James Davis, the right outside linebacker.
And I think Walt wants to get back to basics. He knows that in the first half, he ran the ball effectively in the first half. I think he wants to get back to what they did in the first half with running the ball and kind of take it out of Rod's hands a little bit.
Ball moves on to the 48-yard line.
Brandon Myrie had 13 carries for 77 yards in the first half. They open up with, again, giving it to Myrie. He has nowhere to go, as Polite, the fullback, had fallen down, and Myrie sort of stumbles over him back to the line of scrimmage.
They really didn't know who their tailback was going to be coming into this season. And Myrie has, just in the last month or so, really taken charge.
Second down after the loss of about a half a yard. Second, call it 10. Rutherford back, will keep it himself, cuts back upfield, and will have the first down near the West Virginia 40-yard line.
We talked about how both of these teams really rely on the quarterback as an additional rusher. Watch what happens on a quarterback draw. Split blocks, Collins goes away. Now he gets picked up late on a good block by the center, Chad Reed. And now your quarterback, who's 6'3", 220, becomes a running back. That's why this offense is so effective.
That's what Walt Harris was talking about. He said Rod Rutherford can run the football. He said sometimes he holds on to it a little bit too long and tries to be Johnny Unitas. You don't need to hold on and try to make something happen. You're a big guy, tuck it and run.
Right. And, you know, I played defensive back, so when I watch tape of quarterbacks, the guys that really I had the most trouble with, or teams have the most trouble with, are the guys that throw the football on time. And when you're a young, talented quarterback like Rod Rutherford is, Walt Harris knows he's got to be patient with him, because right now he holds the ball too long and he throws it up for grabs too often. But boy, is he a talented kid.
And at 6'3", 220, he's a low. Just asked Mr. Vilma at Miami. He delivered a blow to him last Thursday down in Hurricane Land at the Orange Bowl. Again, Myrie on the carry. And Mike, I believe you're exactly right. I think Walt Harris went in at halftime, said, you know, we should be able to control with Petiti and company this line of scrimmage. Let's come out there and run the football, get back in this football game.
Yeah, I think they put the ball up in the air and they lost it. Now you go back to Petiti and Lacarte. Look at Petiti, 6'6", 330. You know, on Thanksgiving, what do you think they were saying? Bon appetit?
How about it? Lacarte, 6'4", 295.
Split backs. This is, okay, timeout. Didn't like what he saw.
Wisely calling the timeout. Rod Rutherford, after finishing the first half with 2 turnovers, will come over and talk it over with Panther head coach Walt Harris. Back at Heinz Field, opening drive of the second half. 3rd and 5. Line of scrimmage, the West Virginia 35-yard line.
Safety blitz. Man-to-man coverage.
Rutherford doesn't seem wide open downfield. He will tuck it, and he gets nailed About a yard and a half shy of the first down by Lance Frazier, the right cornerback. And Mikey had a receiver downfield.
Yeah, he had the tight end, Chris Wilson, open 5 yards beyond the closest guy. They went with a free safety blitz, and what that means is there's no safety in the hole. By that I mean no safety in the middle of the field. So Wilson went right to the middle of the field. That brings up a 4th and 1, and they got to go for it.
Don't kick it in the backyard brawl. You go face mask to face mask, physical football. And fighting his way back, and I believe he should have enough for the first down. Right across the 30-yard line. Depends on the spot. And they're going to spot it just right at the 30-yard line.
I thought that, well, look at the mark. You're right, Jared. The mark is right on. The point of the ball is on that.
I thought he was beyond the 30 when he came down.
I did too. And I think they could be a couple chain links short here.
Walt Harris not real pleased with the spot. I think he believed, as we did, that maybe Rod Rutherford was across. And
what do they go? Look at that.
First down by...
Wow. Rodriguez said, you got to be kidding me. And Walt saying, okay, next play. Wow.
Rich Rodriguez is saying, from where I'm standing. But you know what? That's part of this rivalry.
It really is. And they're going to talk about, if they go down and score here, they'll be talking about that mark for a while.
By a chain link, it is a first down for the Pittsburgh Panthers. Rutherford to Fitzgerald, and pretty good open field tackle by Angel Estrada, the free safety.
Rutherford pass to Fitzgerald. Gain of 2.
We told you we could be seeing history made. Indeed, we have. Today is a Heinz Field attendance record, 66,731. Previously, last January, the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC Championship game, 64,704. And the largest crowd in the modern era to see a sporting event in the city of Pittsburgh. They are here today for the backyard brawl. And they are enjoying a good one as Pittsburgh has taken the opening second-half kickoff and is now threatening with that run. Brandon Myrie takes it down to about the 21-yard line.
That's just smash-mouth football. Petiti again crushed the left side. He and LaCarte just pushed people down towards, watch this side right here. Down block, double team right there on 89 Love. Back's going to come right off his butt. And there's no strong safety in the hole. Great job by the offensive line, open up a huge hole.
They fake the inside handoff. Rutherford follows the fullback, and he will have the first down inside the 20.
Now, Jerry, this is where they self-destructed in the first half pick. Marching the ball down the field and then making the big mistake. They were only 2 out of 5 when they had the ball on the West Virginia side of the 50. So Walt Harris has got to convert here. You got to get touchdowns.
Coming into this game, they were only 68% in the red zone, only 45% in touchdowns scored inside the 20-yard line. And that's what bit them early in the year at Notre Dame. They basically outplayed the Irish, had 4 times the yards as Myrie slips and falls after crossing the 15-yard line. That's what we're talking about. Only 24 touchdowns in 53 trips in the red zone. That's 45%, a little less than 46%.
That's not going to get it done. You got to get the ball in the end zone when you get in the red zone.
2 receivers top of your screen. Lamar Slade.
Oh, hit it, the fullback in the helmet.
In the helmet, and West Virginia jumps on it. And the umpire signals it is Mountaineer football.
3rd turnover, and Jerry, I saw the same thing happen, I believe, in their Miami game on down-the-line option where the toss hit the fullback. You got to get the proper spacing. That can't ever happen in a big time. He'll go down the line, option, watch the fullback right there. It hits him right in the helmet. Polite has no idea. Estrada jumps on, no, that's not Estrada, it's Ben Collins. Jumps on the football. 3rd turnover, this time in the red zone.
3rd consecutive turnover. They finished the first half on 2 possessions, 2 consecutive turnovers, and now opening second half possession. Pittsburgh drives in the red zone and turns it over again on the fumble. Avon Coburn, his first carry of the second half.
Avon Coburn, ball carrier for the Mountaineers.
You know, Jerry, you and I were talking about how they've outplayed people in their losses, but when you look at this graphic, they've lost by 17 points in these 3 games. But look at the other numbers. Offensive yards, first down. They have totally dominated their opponents, but they can't score. When they get in the red zone, they can't get points on the board. Right guard jumped off.
That'll cost the Mountaineers 5 yards.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
And miscues against Texas A&M, for example, they couldn't convert an extra point, a couple of penalties. That cost them a 2-point loss to A&M here at Heinz Field. They've outplayed the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame in South Bend.
They have played every team on this schedule competitively, and the difference between 8-3 and 11-0 are turnovers and mistakes.
Marshall looking to throw it for the first time, has a receiver up to the 20-yard line. That is A.J. Nastasi.
You talk about turnovers. Here's the first one. The thrower, Estrada, makes a good one, but that ball should have never been thrown. The second one, overthrown, this time by King. Brian King makes the interception. And finally, down the line option. You can't hit your fullback in the head. And I'm not saying it's the quarterback's fault, but there's got to be a better separation between the quarterback and the fullback and the tailback.
Third and 4. Marshall pump fakes, looks downfield, has wide open. That is Phil Braxton, 20, 15, 10, 5, and he is nearly caught from behind by Torrey Cox, but touchdown, West Virginia, 79 yards.
Now this is a great play. They're coming from the inside fake. Claude Harriet has a chance to make a play. He goes for the fake. Look at Braxton. He knows he's open. The ball is perfectly thrown over the shoulder. The only problem I have here is Braxton look at him, he's coasting, and a great hustle by Torrey Cox. Wow.
79-yard strike. And the extra point is up and good. And here early in the third quarter, it is a 14-point margin for the Mountaineers of West Virginia. Rasheed Marshall celebrates, as well he should. Off the turnover, third consecutive turnover, and now the Mountaineers go up by 14 here early, or I should say midway in the third quarter. Torrey Cox near his own goal line, dances back, and he will be brought down at about the 20-yard line.
That's Cox on the Pittsburgh return.
This ABC Sports presentation of college football is being brought to you by Chevy Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. By Dell, flexible enterprise solutions that are easy to buy, easy to own, easy as Dell. Rivalry in Big East Conference history. Started back in 1895, and at stake today a New Year's Day bowl bid. As Brandon Myree will get a couple of 3 yards.
Brandon Myree from Pittsburgh.
The winner of this football game, Michael, will be guaranteed at least a runner-up finish in the Big East Conference and probably an invitation to play in Jacksonville, Florida on New Year's Day. Both these coaches said they were showing their kids some photographs of sand and surf and palm trees and talking about how nice it's going to be in Florida. Not that they needed any motivation when you play your arch rival, but nice thought about the weather on New Year's Day down there.
Brandon Myree, the ball carrier.
Big East champion, of course, would go to the BCS Bowl, and that probably will be Miami, top-ranked Miami.
Yeah, the only way that doesn't happen is if they lose both, and they're not going to lose today to Syracuse.
They were up big early over the Orange Men. Second choice of the Big East plays in ACC, and that will be NC State. Wolfpack, their first ever 10-win season under Chuck Amato. What a job he has done. Taking the Wolfpack after the big win over Florida State last Saturday at Raleigh at Carter Finley. And, of course, so 4 bowl commitments for the Big East Conference. Rutherford being chased, throws it back, has a receiver at the 30, and that is the fullback, Lusaka Polite.
Boy, I get nervous when I see guys throwing late back across the middle up in the air like that, but they made a play and got a first down.
Stop the Mountaineers. First down, Pittsburgh. Ball moves out to the 30.
But that's what you get with Rod Rutherford. You get the good like that, scrambling and makes a play, but you also got to take a little bit of the bad. And I think as he gets a little bit older in this offense, I think Walt Harris will probably cure him of that turnover habit.
Second drive of the second half for Pittsburgh after getting deep in Mountaineer territory. Receiver downfield, double coverage on Larry Fitzgerald, and the Panther fans wanting a flag. They will not get it.
Now this is double coverage, okay? They're going to have a bracket here and here, okay? And Adai, 48, is running underneath. You got to put air under the football. Adai looks back. I don't think there's any interference there. No question, it's a good job by the defensive backs. But once again, if you got a 6'3", 210-pound Fitzgerald out there who flies, put the ball up in the air, let him go get it.
And plus, he has a 38-inch vertical leap. He's good at going up and getting the football. Rutherford dancing up and will dive toward the 40. Will still be a couple of yards shy of the first. Well, coming up tonight, ABC Sports has two of the best rivalries in college football. You'll see number 7 Notre Dame taking on the Trojans of USC, number 6, or Florida State from Doak Campbell Stadium down in Tallahassee tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 Pacific on ABC Sports, the class of college football. Check local listings for the game in your area.
And John Zook has a chance to do something Spurrier never could do, which is to beat Florida State in Tallahassee.
Ron Zook, his first year as a head coach for the Florida Gators. Third and a couple. Rutherford way off the mark there. Pass intended for Lamar Slade, and that'll bring up a punting situation for Pittsburgh.
That's a bad choice. I mean, they had Estrada, the linebacker, running underneath that route. He had no chance to complete it. Effectively, it was double coverage, and Rutherford didn't recognize that.
First punt of the day for Andy Lee, who leads the Big East Conference in punting, averaging over 43 yards a punt. Lance Frazier back to return. A low wobbly kick headed toward Frazier. Will hit about the 21, take a Pittsburgh bounce, and will roll down to about the 12-yard line. A 48-yard punt, and the Mountaineers will take over on their own 12 when we come back. Gahila emerged to form the Ohio just outside of Heinz Field. As West Virginia up by 2 touchdowns will go to the ground game, which they basically have been doing all day, with a handoff to Quincy Wilson, the junior, out of Weirton, West Virginia.
Get used to seeing some more of that. They got double tight in the game right now. Watch him come off and the cutback from here back this way. It starts to the front side. He reads it correctly, bounces off the poor tackle by Meineke, and picks up a big gain. I'm telling you right now, you're going to see an awful lot of Wilson and Coburn because they're averaging about 5 yards a carry. Rodriguez will continually go back to that.
This time the handoff to Avon Coburn. He'll have it up across the 20. Might be very close to the first down. Well, what's happening with Miami and Syracuse in the Carrier Dome? Let's check in John Saunders with Times Square Stadium.
Ken Dorsey's trying to lay claim to the Heisman Trophy. Over 300 yards passing already. 68 yards here to Andre Johnson, who takes it down to the 2. That sets up Quatrin Hill on a 2-yard rushing touchdown. Now, look at this score. Oklahoma State leading Oklahoma 14-0. This one we will follow for sure.
Boy, how about those Cowboys, huh?
Yeah, but keep in mind, they jacked them last year, and it meant something. If Oklahoma kids, they know that they're already in the championship game of the Big 12, even if they lose that football game.
But it's a rivalry.
I hear you, but that's a hard one to get them up for.
Exactly. Now we talk about how close these football teams are. Take a look at the rushing average. Can't get much closer than that.
Yeah, I'm going to add one thing to this graphic. TO3. Turnovers 3, Pittsburgh. Difference in the football game, plus the red zone.
Right, that's the 14 points on the scoreboard for West Virginia. 3 consecutive turnovers, 2 to finish the first half and 1 to open the second half by the Panthers of Pittsburgh.
Look at that cutback.
Cutback by Wilson out of the pile. and chased down by Torrey Cox. Gain of 14, very reminiscent of that Willis McGahee run that he had against Pittsburgh last Thursday night, where he was stopped at the line of scrimmage, cut it back, and took off in from 69 out.
Well, that's your heir apparent jogging off the field there. Quincy Wilson, you don't lose a whole lot when he comes onto the field. He's a junior. He'll be the workhorse, and if he stays healthy next year, he'll be the next 1,000-yard rusher.
Rich Rodriguez, up-tempo, spread offense, shotgun reverse this time to Braxton, and he may lose about a half a yard.
That's their 4th reverse of the ball game. They ran 2 reverses, and look at the turf that's being generated out there, but they ran 2 reverses early in the first quarter, then a reverse to the backup quarterback, throwback to Marshall, and that's the 4th one of the game. It's a fun offense that Rich Rodriguez perfected in Division II, Glenville State.
Rich Rodriguez, 4 years an offensive coordinator for Tommy Bowden, 2 at Tulane, 2 at Clemson. With this very offense, Coburn gets the handoff. Straight ahead for about 3.5 or 4 yards. You mentioned Rodriguez. His head coaching career began at the age of 24 in NAIA school at Salem. A year there, 7 years at Glenville State from 90 to 96. Then, of course, the 4 years as an offensive coordinator at Tulane from 97 to 98, then Clemson 99 to 2000. 51 school records they set offensively at Clemson his final year there.
They have 4 wides in the game, 2 on either side. They work underneath patterns.
And pass just beyond the reach of Derek Smith, a junior college transfer. That will set up a punting situation for the Mountaineers. Their first punt here in the second half.
I think this is only the 3rd punt of the game.
Todd James will be kicking deep to Sean Rock. And straight up in the air.
Wow.
Very short.
Get out of the way.
It hits at the 50, and that looks to be about a
12-yard net.
About an 8-yard punt. 8 yards, the punt from scrimmage. And first miscue we've seen today for West Virginia.
That's when you go over there and there's nobody on that sideline that has a clue how to coach a punter, but you just don't want to go back to the sideline. Now, Pitt's got to turn it around there. They got to break. They're on the 50-yard line. They got to get points on the board right now.
Final minute and 16 seconds of the 3rd quarter. Rutherford will look deep in the direction of Fitzgerald, and he will have it down at about the 31.
Fitzgerald does a real nice job of never hurrying too much. Watch him on the front side. He reads zone. He knows he's got to sit down in between the zone right here. Finds it, sits down. Very patient for a freshman. You just don't see that.
Fitzgerald, 7 receptions for 105 yards as a true freshman. Myrie will dance back, find the backside hole, and will be down inside the 30 to about the 27. At the conclusion of today's game, we will select a Chevrolet player of the game from each team. Chevrolet will make a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund. And that could be a pretty difficult choice because I think some of those offensive linemen on both sides should get a call.
Yeah, I hear that. This is the area where they've had a real problem so far today and for the entire season. They got to finish a drive.
Final 20 seconds of the 3rd quarter. They will hand it off inside and nothing doing. Maybe a yard for Brandon Myrie.
Which Doc brings up, you know, a 3rd or 4 or 5, and they've got to convert it because the ball's on about the 26. It's going to be a 43, 44-yard field goal if they don't.
Well, that'll do it for the 3rd quarter. 15 minutes of football remaining here in the 95th edition of the Backyard Brawl. The Mountaineers up by 14. The 4th quarter straight ahead. We'll be right back. Backyard Brawl. It is 3rd and 4 for the Panthers of Pittsburgh, trailing by 14.
Split backs, pass, quarterback draw, or shovel pass out of that formation.
Rutherford, and it bounced off the turf. It'll be incomplete. It'll bring up a 4th and 4.
Now Rod threw another bad pass, and now you've got decision time. I think you got to go for it here, right? You're down 14. It's a tough field goal. It's about 42, 43 yards, and he's going to go for it. And I really believe you got to find number 1. They didn't find him at the end of the Miami game, and I think they need to find him right here.
That would be the true freshman, Fitzgerald, who is, his signature is going up for the fade, making those acrobatic over the shoulder, through the eyebrows. Walt Harris calls them catches.
Okay,
4th and 4.
There's Fitzgerald. There's the tight end Wilson. They're your 2 primary guys right here. Cross motion.
They bring Fitzgerald back.
Pick play. There he is, wide open.
Wide open at the 20-yard line, 15, and Pittsburgh will score.
And what they do here is just a little pick pattern. They set the motion up, and then he's going to run off the tight end. And number 8, the backup safety, Harrison, loses him in the wash. And now when the big fella has the ball in the open field, you are not going to take him down. All that was a little rough play. You got to have a much better reaction than that, but give Rutherford and Fitzgerald credit.
Opening play of the 4th quarter, 25 yards to Larry Fitzgerald. Abdul adds the extra point, and we have a 7-point football game. This backyard brawl is indeed just that. Back in just a moment. A 7-point football game here with just under 15 minutes to play, just early on here in the 4th quarter.
And remember, that scoring drive was set up by the poor punt by West Virginia, which only netted 8 yards. So they were playing on the short field. We talked about how they had to take advantage and convert, and they did.
The true freshman David Abdul will tee it up. And Phil Braxton and Cassell Smith are deep. Short kick, and it will roll out of bounds.
For Miami. He's at 135 yards right now. 35-7, the Canes are rolling.
And you know, the interesting thing there is, do McGahee and Dorsey work against each other in the Heisman and kind of split some of those Southern votes?
Kickoff out of bounds, 35-yard line to start, and a hit by Torrey Cox on Coburn will stop him dead in his tracks for no gain. And time permitting, at the end of our game, we'll have more from John and Terry in our thrifty car rental post-game report. Updates of what's happening around the country in college football, and some big ones coming up tonight. Florida State, and Notre Dame headed out to USC. We've got a great one here in the final quarter of the backyard brawl. They fake the reverse. Marshall will keep it. 40-yard line, 44, as he shoved out of bounds up near the 45.
Rasheed Marshall keeps.
Well, and I really like this Rich Rodriguez offense, because as a former defensive player, it keeps you off balance. That's the 5th reverse action of the game. This time, Rich has his quarterback keep the football and pick up about 8 yards. And once again, Jerry, they're at 3rd and a short distance, a manageable distance. They got 3 wide receivers in the game, tight end and back. Watch the inside handoff.
They fake the inside handoff, and Marshall will not get there.
Well, let's see the mark now. Where they got? You're right, Chair. You're right.
Still about a yard shy. That'll bring up 4th and about a half to 2/3 of a yard.
Here comes the punt team.
And listen to this crowd.
We got a ball game. Look at this. They're trying to get it snapped quick. Struggled with it.
That's a Larry off the side of his
There, it hit him. It hit him. It hit him. He was lying on the ground, and it's going to be a turnover. West Virginia ball. Yep.
Bounced off the Pittsburgh player on the ground. That was Adam Jones, the backup defensive back.
Might have been Josh Lay.
Josh Lay. That is Josh Lay, true freshman.
Right now, he's out there telling, look, punt returner saying, stay away, but on the ground right there was Lay. And the West Virginia kids did a great job of recognizing the ball was touched inadvertently for turnover number 4.
Huge turnover for the Pittsburgh Panthers. West Virginia now running downhill with Avon Coburn. And once again, Paul Rhodes has to call on his Panther defense to stop the Mountaineers as it begins to snow here.
And it's coming down sideways, too, which is so appropriate for today. But I have to say one thing about this Pittsburgh defense. They continue to fly to the football and hit people. Their offense is putting them in bad positions. They got to make another play here. They can't afford to let any first downs.
They fake it to Coburn. Marshall has it in the end, right downfield, and there was some pushing and shoving.
Yeah.
And there is no flag. Torrey Cox, the defender, on Phil Braxton. Braxton had gotten behind Cox by about 4 or 5 yards, and Torrey made a nice recovery.
My pet peeves are quarterbacks that throw the ball late. We're catching the end of this now where there is some contact between Braxton and Torrey Cox. But if the quarterback throws the ball early, if he throws it on time, that's 6 points for West Virginia.
Mix of rain, sleet, and snow. Forecast was for temperatures in the low 20s and snow beginning mid-afternoon. That's indeed what we have.
This is great.
And 9.
Here comes Pitt.
Marshall will tuck it on the draw, and he is stuffed at the 30-yard line by Tez Morris, the true freshman out of Hamilton, Ohio.
Yeah, that's a big play by Morris because they collapsed down the inside of that line, and I thought he had a lot of room to work with. Marshall, it's 4th and about 6, and they don't have, yeah, they're going for it unless it's a quick kick, which they've done before, but they're going for it, folks.
Oh, here is Rashid Marshall looking downfield, and it is batted away by Tez Morris. 2 consecutive plays by the freshman, and Pittsburgh will take over. Listen to this partisan crowd.
I can't believe how late Marshall is on this play. Watch him up top, wide open, 3 yards of separation. He doesn't throw it until the defensive back starts making his break on the football. And that's something that a young quarterback like Marshall is gonna have to learn. You gotta throw the ball early. You can't let the D-back make a break on the football.
What a job by Paul Rhodes' defense for the Pittsburgh Panthers. Paul Rhodes, the defensive coordinator in his 3rd year here. And now can the Panther offense get it done? Lou Polite. Up across the 35.
This is everything that the backyard brawl was billed to be. We got the snow, we got the fans, and we got...
Ranked was 1989. Pittsburgh was down by 22 points in the 4th quarter and came back to kick a 43-yard field goal as time expired and ended in a 31-31 tie. So this football game has a history of wild finishes. Now it's time for our Pacific Life game summary.
Yeah, not a surprise, right, Jerry? I mean, Coburn's had 86 yards. They've had close to 200 on the ground in total. But really, it's the bottom graphic. It's this one right there that's the difference in the football game. Brandon Myrees had a great game, but you can't turn it over 4 times and expect to beat a good football team.
Turnovers, miscues, and I didn't have to show you the picture. You could tell from the crowd reaction it was another Panther first down.
By another 2 chain links. I mean, that's unbelievable.
It is a game of inches. These players know that they have less than 11 minutes. Many of them are seniors that will never step foot on Heinz Field again. They are playing for a New Year's Day bowl and at least a runner-up finish in the Big East Conference. Handoff, lots of steam by the Alabama transfer, Brandon Myree, out of Cincinnati.
And that Pittsburgh offensive line has been every bit as effective as the West Virginia offensive line. They're going to continue to work the inside, and Jerry, ultimately, they're going to get back to number one because he's the bread and butter. He's the guy that's making big plays for them. Ultimately, they're going to come play action right there to the guy coming out of the huddle. That's Larry Fitzgerald, and they're going to look to, right now, they got him one-on-one if they choose.
Bottom of your screen is Fitzgerald. They will again hand it off inside, and nothing doing. Might have lost about a half a yard. Myrie gets stood up at the line of scrimmage by Adam Lenort. And remind you, coming up tonight, ABC Sports has two of the best rivalries in college football. You'll see number 7 Notre Dame against number 6 USC, or Florida State coming to you from Doak Campbell Stadium down in Tallahassee, Florida. That's tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 Pacific on ABC Sports, the class of college football. Check local listings for the game in your area. 3rd and 5. Rutherford thinks better of it, pulls it down, and will be hit and will not get there.
Boy, that was Jason Davis and I believe Jermaine Thaxton. I thought Rutherford had a real chance there to make a play. You got to be careful. West Virginia will probably go punt safe here because the ball's right around the 50 and it's only 4th and 3. So you want to make sure. See, they only have 3 down linemen right now, the West Virginia defensive line. They're in their punt safe formation right here, folks.
Andy Lee, leading punter in the Big East, over 43 yards of punt. Another low floater down in about the 14-yard line by Lance Frazier. He'll get up across the 20. 39-yard punt and a 9-yard return. Well, they're going to call once again on Paul Rhodes' defense. This ABC Sports presentation of college football is brought to you by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. By Circuit City, we're with you. By Taco Bell, think outside the bun. And by AT&T. AT&T Wireless brings you M-Life, your mobile life made better. Well, the weather getting worse and the football game getting better. Couldn't be more appropriate here for the backyard brawl in Pittsburgh. I'm Jerry Punch along with Mike Mayock. Glad to have you with us at Heinz Field. How appropriate here at Heinz Field, a home team playing a little catch-up, huh?
Well, Jerry, you're a Southern guy, and you were complaining about the weather yesterday. It was like a balmy 48. This is what it should be right here. Buckle it up and hit somebody.
Big hole right side for Coburn. The Doak Walker Award semifinalist, Avon Coburn, one of 8 semifinalists. Pretty good list of people he's included in that. Chris Brown out of Colorado. Look at Larry Johnson. He's done a pretty fair job carrying the football this year for Penn State. Joe Paterno and company. Willis McGahee, who's getting it done up at the Carrier Dome today.
I am really impressed with both offensive lines. That time for West Virginia, they had their tight end, Torrey Johnson, Lance Nemo, Jeff Burke, pushing the pile. And once again, Jerry, 3rd and 2, a manageable 3rd down situation.
I formation by West Virginia. They will toss it to Coburn. He will cut it back and be right at the first down sticks. Lewis Moore grabbed him around the ankles and got him down, but he will have the first down by about a foot.
Lewis Moore knows that this defense needs to step up and make a play. The clock continues to run. You know West Virginia is going to run the football. 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and Coburn in the game.
West Virginia comes into this football game 2nd in the nation in rushing yards, 292 a game. Coburn 6th overall in rushing. They cut it back across the 40, and Torrey Cox may have saved a touchdown, cutting the legs out from under Avon Coburn.
And Jerry, you're exactly right on that play. If Cox doesn't make that play, he's still running, and it might be the end of the game. Inside handoff, that's their favorite play. Here goes the cut. Now he's going to come back out towards us. If that play isn't made right there, and that's a heck of an open field tackle by Cox. Folks, he's still running.
Coburn, 25 carries, 105 yards. This is not Coburn. This is the backup, Quincy Wilson, the junior.
Number 3, Quincy Wilson for West Virginia.
We told you about the records he already had. Here's one he just got a moment ago with that run, the single season rushing record over a pretty good running back, Amos Zaraway, who's now a Pittsburgh Steeler. Avon Coburn already held many of the records, many of which he broke that were owned by Amos Zaraway, and now he is the single season rushing record holder for the Mountaineers of West Virginia. Inside handoff to Quincy Wilson, has an opening, still on his feet. Wilson down the sidelines, finally shoved out at about the Pittsburgh 30-yard line by Corey Humphreys, the backup free safety.
And they throw a flag at the very end of the play.
Sideline warning, West Virginia, first of the game.
Okay, that's the first one. That's a warning, and then the next one you're talking about.
You're penalized.
Exactly.
5-yard penalty.
Walking off the yards.
Both head coaches have been warned, and they both hate that because it really, you know, in their minds it has nothing to do with the football game, and it's just about sideline management.
Walt Harris thinking about what they can do if and when they get the football, but they got to get the football. Right now, West Virginia holding the football and running the clock. Inside handoff to Quincy Wilson. Vince Krachunas, the nose tackle there to make the stop on Wilson.
You know, and if you're defensive coordinator Paul Rhodes for Pittsburgh, you got to start thinking about how much of a chance you want to take. They're down to the 33-yard line. You can't give them a field goal. You've got to get the football back for your offense because we're now under 6 minutes. This defensive line's got to step up, stop the run.
2nd and 10 for the Mountaineers. We're inside of 5.5 minutes to play in this one.
They got about 8.5 people in the box right now. They're all man coverage. You're going to try and stop the run. And here comes pass.
And pursuit, and Harriet, what a job. Claude Harriet grabs Rasheed Marshall. What an athletic move by the junior from Belle Glade, Florida.
And Harriet, number 90, is the most athletic defensive lineman maybe in the Big East Conference. Look at the bootleg. He does a great job reaching out, catching him on the back, pulling Marshall down. There is a flag on the play. Of course, they're going to decline it. And, Jerry, what did we just talk about? Somebody on that defensive line had to make a play. They came in with a run set. Harriet makes the play.
Coaches have complimented Claude Harriet about how he has stepped up this year and become a player. The junior from Belle Glade started all 11 games, leads the nation with 7 forced fumbles. Huge play for the Panthers.
Look for screen, draw something underneath.
3rd and 20. The pump fake. Marshall looking deep, getting some pressure. Tries to cut it back, and he will be brought down at the 41 by Lewis Moore.
2 consecutive large plays by that Pitt defense will give their offense an opportunity to get the football.
10th tackle for Lewis Moore on the day. Talking about leaving it on the playing field. The junior from Cape May Courthouse, New Jersey. There's a look at Lewis.
I think Rich Rodriguez was a little nervous about putting the football. And look who's in the game. It's number 15, I believe, punting. That's the backup quarterback, Embick. He's going to quick kick it. Yep.
A wobbly kick that'll hit everyone from Pittsburgh getting away this time. And it'll bound down to about the 7-yard line.
And they did that against Virginia Tech. They brought in the backup quarterback right around the 50-yard line, Embick, and they quick punted like that. That is an excellent job by head coach Rich Rodriguez, especially since their punter's done such a poor job today.
And we welcome those of you who have been watching Miami and Syracuse. We are at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh, a sold-out Heinz Field. Final 4 minutes of the 95th backyard brawl. A 7-point football game. And that completion to Lamar Slade as the Pittsburgh Panthers trail by 7. What's at stake today? A New Year's Day bowl game for the winner of this football game, probably the Gator Bowl, as well as possibly a runner-up finish in the Big East Conference behind Miami.
And Jerry, obviously the difference in the football game were the turnovers and the inability of Pitt to score in the red zone. They now have 3.5 minutes, and they got to get the ball 72 yards down the field.
Rod Rutherford, redshirt junior, dancing around, trying to get forward. Will be up near the 30-yard line. And what has hurt Pittsburgh today, mostly, Michael, has been turnovers, 4 of them.
No question. First, Rutherford, ill-advised throw picked off by Estrada. Next possession, also on the other side of the 50, puts too much air. This time, Brian King with the interception. Then on the option, he pitches it out and hits his own fullback in the helmet. And finally, on the punt, the ball rolls into their own guy. West Virginia alertly pounces on it, and we have a turnover differential of +4 for West Virginia.
Well, there is an injury on the field, so we will take a timeout and come back with the final 3 minutes and 18 seconds of the backyard brawl. Modern era to see a sporting event in the city of Pittsburgh, enjoying the backyard brawl. And what a good one we've got here. 66,731 college football fans enjoying the oldest rivalry in Big East Conference history.
Okay, Jerry, we've got a 3rd and 2. Clock continues to run. We're under 3 minutes. It's a manageable 3rd down situation. I think they're either going to run the ball or try and get it to Fitzgerald. He's in the slot right up here, guys. They've run the rub route with him a couple of times.
Fitzgerald in motion. Rutherford has some time. Lobs it to Fitzgerald. Exactly right. Good call, Michael. And he's right at the first down sticks.
Fitzgerald's had a huge game. Their big play guy. He scored the first touchdown of the game right there on a play action, 32 yards. Comes across the middle, reads the zone, sits down in the open space, breaks tackles, 6'3", 210 pounds, crossing route. This is for the 2nd touchdown of the game.
9 receptions for 134 yards for the true freshman from Minneapolis. Rutherford looking upfield, has time, plenty of time. Finds a receiver down near midfield at the 50-yard line, and that again is Larry Fitzgerald. Well, coming up next, Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Mark O'Meara, and Fred Couples battling out in a Thanksgiving weekend classic. The ConAgra Foods Skins game is next right here on ABC. Our buddy Mike Tirico out in Palm Springs. There's some great golf coming your way after what should be a pretty fabulous finish here, if history says anything about this ball game over the years, for the backyard brawl. Rutherford again dumps it off underneath to Myrie. 35-30 inside the 30-yard line.
Hey, Jerry, I've been all over Rutherford today for poor decisions. That time he did a great job. He looked down the field and he didn't have it, so he went to his check down. Brandon Myrie, the tailback. Take a look right here. The tailback's going to sneak out of the backfield. They don't have anybody deep. He chooses the correct route, the check down, and Myrie does the rest. And now all of a sudden you're inside the 30 with 1:30 left in the football game.
Rivalry game. Rutherford, a Pittsburgh native, tucks it himself. Will take it 20-yard line. Will be right at the first down marker, and they will stop the clock at 1:23.
And as we've talked about the whole football game, this is a planned run. It's a quarterback draw. Watch these linemen here release. On a pass, they're not going to release up the field. Here they come. There's the key block right there. It gets Rutherford down over the 20-yard line and probably another first down.
They will bring out the sticks and measure. Rod Rutherford has a history of getting it done in the 4th quarter. You see it's short by a couple of feet against your alma mater, Boston College. He had 3 completions, 52 yards, and a 14-yard scamper to put Pittsburgh in position for a tying field goal to send it into overtime.
Yep. BC lost that game 19-16. And once again, you're down inside the 20. There's a minute 23 left in the game, and I truly believe, number one, Larry Fitzgerald will be intimately involved in our finish.
Fitzgerald is the one they went to against Virginia Tech twice when they were down by 2 touchdowns with the fade route.
Watch out and see if they take him to the corner real soon. Post and then back out to the corner.
They hand off this time, near side, Myrie dancing by, and we got a flag, a couple of flags coming in. We may have a motion penalty on Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think there was some movement up front.
Referee John Smith in the Big East will talk it over and probably walk off some yardage against the Panthers. And a reminder for you viewers that were watching the Miami at Syracuse game. At the conclusion of this one, we'll take you back to the Carrier Dome, where the Hurricanes are up 35-7 over the Orange Men. Just under 10 and a half to go in that one. We've got a great one here in Pittsburgh. New Year's Day Bowl implications for the winner of this football game. Probably a trip to the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville. A runner-up finish in the Big East Conference. And bragging rights. That may be the most important of all.
Absolutely. Let's remember now, first down's critical, the time left on the clock, and you've got 2 timeouts left for Pitt.
Fake the handoff. Rutherford throws a wobbly pass, and it's nearly picked off. Intended for Chris Wilson, the tight end. Brian King, they are defending, and Brian is the Mountaineer who made the interception at Virginia Tech to save the football game.
And what I don't understand, Jerry, is that you've got your best cover corner covering a tight end in that situation. It's a huge advantage for West Virginia. That's not where you want to go. Go find number 1. They didn't do it last week against Miami on the final play of the game. If I lose this game and I'm Pitt, I want to do it because I'm looking for number 1.
When the game's on the line, you think players, not plays.
There it is, crossing route.
There he is, 20-yard line. He holds it on 15, ducks under the tackler at the 12. First and 10 for Pittsburgh.
I've talked about the rub route. That means a receiver's going to rub his guy off another receiver. Watch, he goes right under the tight end, Chris Wilson. He gets the rub, comes underneath, secures the football, and gets the first down.
Less than a minute to go in the backyard brawl. We'll be right back. Well, 50 seconds is all that remains in the 95th edition of the Backyard Brawl. West Virginia and Pittsburgh, 2 schools 90 miles apart. They don't like each other. The intensity is always there, and today it's all about a New Year's Day Bowl as well as bragging rights.
Number 1, top of the screen. If I'm West Virginia, I'm going to bracket him. I'm going to go 2-on-1, and that's what they're looking like.
Rutherford looks like he'll take the sack, and it may force Pittsburgh to use that final timeout. They're trying to get lined up.
Here we go. Fitzgerald up at the top of the screen. They're going to double him. They got man here and another one back deep.
Fitzgerald has double coverage in the end zone. Chris Wilson, the tight end, couldn't quite get there.
The entire season, Pittsburgh has struggled in the red zone. Updated through today as of right now. Take a look at that. 55 opportunities, only 24 touchdowns. That doesn't get it done.
2 trips and 1 field goal in the red zone today. A week ago against top-ranked Miami, they had a shot to tie it with 20 seconds to go from 20 yards out. Couldn't get it done. Can they get it done here in the final 25 seconds? Rutherford looks toward the end zone and cannot hold on. Fitzgerald falling backwards, could not get both hands on the football.
And what we talked about, this will be our Dodge defensive playbook. I talked about bracketing these guys. They got a corner and a safety assigned to Larry Fitzgerald. From the end zone, you're going to see the corner man, and then you're going to have back in here, the safety jumps it right there. That's a die. You can't let the big play guy beat you, and that's exactly what defensive coordinator Todd Graham has decided.
Timeout on the field. We'll be back with the final 19 seconds from here at Heinz Field in just a moment. Field, 19 seconds to play. Pittsburgh can get a first down inside the 1-yard line.
Here's Fitzgerald. He's got Frazier and a dive back here, doubling them. They might look for the tight end over the middle because of the double team.
4th and 13. Rutherford has time.
There he is, the tight end, wide open.
In the end zone, and it's batted away by Ben Collins, the middle linebacker, slams it away. And West Virginia, the Mountaineers, will win the 95th edition of the Backyard Brawl.
And you know what, Jer? Rutherford is disconsolate, and if he had kept his eye on tight end Chris Wilson, he was wide open early. You got to throw the football on time.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. West Virginia taking the helmet off in the field of play. The penalty is half the distance to the goal.
A rich run.
Here's your tight end. He's going to do a double move and come open late. He goes to the left. Now watch him. There's a slip in the middle of the field. He's wide open. Right back in here. If Rutherford just stays with him. Oh, there goes. Wow, he went down. Fitzgerald. A couple of different people slipped there. But if Rutherford had stayed with his tight end, it was touchdown.
Well, the Mountaineers of West Virginia will move to 9-3. 6-1 in the Big East Conference, and chances are that Avon Coburn, Rich Rodriguez, and the Mountaineers are going to be headed to Jacksonville, Florida for a New Year's Day bowl game. Have to wait and see